Welcome back, guys, to the show, episode 4. And this week we're going to be discussing the topic of Black History Month, as we are part of Black History Month. And as you know, we still have the same cast, so big up Ayano, big up Jolando, and your boy Alesto. So Ayano, Black History Month, how you feel about Black History Month?
Well, as you all know, we're at the end of celebrating this historic Black History Month. And I think that, I don't know, I wasn't really out there to experience what we did for Black History Month, but I'm excited for you guys to be a part of the discussions that we have for you. And I think it's going to be very important for us to have this conversation, as it kind of summarizes and acknowledges our culture, our people, how far we've been as Black people, but not only Black people in the world, but Black people in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I'm looking forward to it.
Same here, and Ayana mentioned that she didn't see much of it, but as a teacher I actually saw a lot of it, especially this past Friday where the kids and the teachers had on the African wear, and not only them,
oh, I saw those, they were really cute.
People in different businesses, and it was just so exciting seeing them celebrate
they wore them
our
to
history.
Church
Yeah, even to church as well.
They wore them.
Just taking part in us celebrating who we are as a people. You know, it's our heritage. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to just chime in on the topic. And as Ayana said, feel free to join in the discussion. We love your engagement. So, go ahead.
So our first topic tonight is culture. So we just kind of started it a little brief tonight. Like I said, I must commend all of the persons who came out.
Well, first, before you get into that, I want to acknowledge the fact that, well, as we mentioned, this week would be, this episode will be touching on Black History Month, and the general question that we are throwing out tonight is, how has slavery impacted us in St. Kitts and Nevis? And not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but us in the region and international at large. So the first one that we decided on was our culture.
So coming from a culture of predominantly being slaves, which were brought from Africa over to the Caribbean and stuff like that, and also being empowered over the years and having certain key persons really make a difference in history. I mean, this month is filled with, you know, Bob Marley,
Marcus Garvey,
and all these important social factors and social persons that has really shaped Black people to put them where they are today. So on the topic of culture,
well, how has slavery impacted our culture today? Because we got a lot of our culture from colonial days. So what exactly do you guys...
I mean, well, you know, we could just go ahead and throw the carnival out there. Yeah. So, and the carnivals from the market days on Saturdays, where the slave, that was the free time the slaves had to themselves. They would, some would dress mimicking their masters, and that's where you find the, no, I don't want to say, well, you know, you got the ball, you know, you got the masquerade. You have one in particular, the way they actually used to dress like their masters. I don't remember the name of that particular costume, but all of that is where carnival essentially stemmed from. And then to bring the discussion to the present now, we could definitely chime in and say, well, it's somewhat watered down from what it was intended to be. Because, you know, now it's not, the focus is not placed on...
Do you think it's watered down, or do you think it's developed?
A bit of both. I wouldn't really say
think
watered
it's a bit
down,
of both,
but
too.
I think it's kind of evolved. To put it nicely,
It
I
has.
think it's changed the
It's like
vibe.
it's like an integration of
Old and new
everything.
and,
It's
yeah.
an integration of everything. Like, not even of old and new, but even different cultures. We're seeing different cultures being a part of our carnival.
And also regional carnival in terms of how they fet, how they party, how they lime, and the energy that they bring.
I guess we can't deny the fact that it has developed into something else, but 110% yes, it has been watered down, because the focus is not even placed on what it was
on the
really
folklore.
On the folklore
There's no
aspect. Yeah, we
emphasis
have
on
the folklore, but how many people really are that excited to go out on the streets of Bastille to see the mask and etc. Yeah, my grandmother and my parents will be looking forward to that, but the younger people now, they're looking forward to the costumes, and not only can we say it has watered down as far as the folklore, being, not, I can't say diminished because it's still there, but as less significant as it was. But
so the focus has shifted.
The focus has shifted, but not only that, just the costumes in general, how they evolved, changed into more skimpier. The skimpier costumes, the better.
Right.
That's the focus now.
Right.
It's not, let us now honor what our ancestors
Passed down as
tradition.
But not even that, even the dancing. I have to comment on the dancing because like a lot of people just say, oh yeah, that's culture. But is it really our culture?
So I said
The gyrating and the underground and the digging,
Gyrating, walking up is our culture.
Well, I know gyrating is our culture, but the extent to which we do, where we all on the ground and the man choking us and God's cock up on the wall, and like, it's like what's behavior?
The vulgarity is more vulgar than you think it should be.
It's just like all on your head. It's like who could go on the worst?
I mean,
it's a part of having fun, it's a part of enjoying the moment, it's a part of letting loose, it's a part of all of that. But at what point can we say that we are celebrating our culture?
When you see the two masquerades, the two masquerades and some,
when the clown them come in, the
you show the masquerade, the clown, the macajumbi, and the bull. You know, the bull got the bull.
Yeah, we got mummies.
What's the band? The thing they used to depict whatever happens in the village.
The bull?
No, they used to have like where they dress up and one with the white and the something. I forgot what it's called.
But that's the same thing I was speaking about. Yeah. That's when they were really mimicking the masters. No.
Yeah. We got mummies. We got mummies.
I don't remember. No, it's something else. But I can't remember its name either.
Happened. It's almost they used to call it like school children.
They used to depict what was happening on the plantation.
Yes.
And it was so basically you having the upper hand.
In your village, Ayana was cheated on by whoever, they would depict the whole scene.
Yeah.
And it was a way of standing up for their right and kind of doing it in a subtle way to get back to their master. I think that was...
But not only that, I think it was a way of
expressing,
laughing after some of the things that the master used. It was them finding enjoyment. It's like, well, you're really thinking, maybe somebody no, we're going to laugh after you. This is our way of laughing after you, mimicking the way how you speak, etc. So that is what it was, but I cannot remember the name of it.
It's crazy to think about that. You know, Zach is responsible for a lot of these folklore that we see around the country all year round, not only at Carnival. And it's sad to see, it's sad to think about the fact that when these people die out, who is going to carry on the tradition? Because then it's going to just be taken over by mass, the costume, Carnival costume, feathers, diamonds, glitter, jewelry.
I mean, to me, I think
because it's already being watered down. Even the kiddies carnival, you can see that it's.
That's true. That's true. I think eventually though, somebody's gonna have to take it up. You know, Shannon right now is taking.
I just want to say, my mind goes head on to the Carnival committee.
Great job.
Carnival last year was
virtual party, doing a virtual carnival.
Big up Banker one time.
That going forward, they're finding more creative ways to keep Carnival alive and keep the spirit of Carnival. And generally, I think it's just going to change. I think change is the only constant thing. So whether Zach is here or not, and you know, big ups to him every time. But I'm just saying that I think somebody's going to come around and see how we could keep this spark, keep the clown, keep the Maka.
But how do you keep the engagement towards the folklore? Because as Jolanda said, people are more looking forward on Greenlands, people more looking forward to see people in the costume and in the feather.
In the younger generation, at least.
A lot of people not looking forward to the actual folklore of the bull.
So that's a societal issue.
So I will also go back to what I just said. I think Shannon, again, will play a major role in terms of being the head and the chairperson for Carnival to make sure that you ensure of keeping it cultured.
Most definitely.
You know, so and that would answer our topic number 2, or topic number 1, sorry.
Of the Carnival.
Yeah, so keeping it really, really cultural, I think the chairperson.
I'm really looking forward to Carnival this year.
I think when we get through COVID, I mean, guys, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I think when we get through COVID this year, the next Juve, the next Carnival, the next all of that, going to just be a different experience.
Yeah. It's going to be a different experience.
Basically missing a whole year, going into second year. I think it's going to just give a different...
And I think that a lot of people can't wait to even visit St. Kitts, because a lot of people visit St. Kitts because Carnival is our culture. So people are going to start in the whole Caribbean, but St. Kitts especially, people can book their tickets very early just to experience Carnival in St. Kitts. And I think that kudos to the chairpersons of Carnival for the last previous years. I think that they did a really spectacular job of putting St. Kitts Carnival on Sugar Mass on the map of international carnivals, and I think that we could definitely compete with other countries as it relates to the carnival.
Agreed.
So, how else has our culture been impacted since slavery?
As a result of slavery?
As Yolanda said, we spoke about the kids in the African weir. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's I think it's really a good initiative to keep the children, to nurture them from that innocent stage to understand and embrace culture as it is.
And who we are as a people.
And who we are as a people. So that they can grow up and be inspired and be able to really take it to the next level in terms of they are our generation. And either way, just like how we were younger, let's say 10 years ago, to where we are now, to see those younger ones look up to us. And we also have to pave the way for the next generation.
And that's actually what creates the whole, minimizes the generation gap. Nurturing them and socializing them and teaching them that this is the reason and the principles and the values placed behind this. So I love the whole African wear. It has a lot of emphasis. Even we have this school, Bassett in particular, I think I cited visuals as well. It wasn't just the dressing up. We actually had the folklore perform. Some of the boys who are in these schools who are part of these different groups that actually performed in the middle of the school. We had like a bull, the bull play. The little masquerade.
So allow me to be the devil's advocate. Don't you guys think that it's culture appropriation? Because yes, they dress up in the African wear, but do they understand the meaning behind the patterns that they are wearing? Is it just a fashion trend, or is it more of a I don't even know how to say it, because it's like they are wearing so many varieties of pattern. They don't even understand that these patterns signify different virtues or different tribes or different places in Africa, because Africa is so
diverse.
It's a continent.
I mean,
and so it's like, to me, it's a culture appropriation. Me being the devil's advocate, it's a matter of culture appropriating these African prints to say what, because we're black?
No. I think people really understand the concept, and I think we live in a information
But to what
age period.
extent?
But I not just because you don't know the meaning behind the pattern. You're just saying because we don't know the meaning behind the pattern, we shouldn't wear the African clothing.
No, I'm saying that. Would you wear? What do the Chinese wear? Jitsu suits. Would you wear that? It's culture appropriation. To me, I just. Honestly?
But the Chinese heritage is not our heritage. So why would we wear a jitsu suit? If that's what it's called, because I'm not sure, to be honest. You understand what I mean? Like, it's from whence we came. We know where we came from. By blood. We are Africans by blood. So it's like, why not celebrate that culture?
But do we have to dress in the clothing to signify?
It honors them. It serves as us honoring them and honoring our ancestors.
Correct.
I mean, I feel like the biggest question you could say is why we don't do it year-round, but that could be an argument. But I'm saying why can't we honor them by wearing their clothing?
For the fashion of it, it's like, okay, for instance, it's a mentality thing, because a lot of people wouldn't wear Afro all year round. They don't like their hair, they don't like certain things, they don't like their skin color, but this specific day they want to wear African print. Some children here that's be in braids 364 days of the year, but this specific day you want to wear Afro. Why?
So the issue is you don't think they should be honored?
I'm not saying that they shouldn't be honored, but I'm saying that there are different ways to go around. There's nothing wrong with wearing an Afro, guys. I just have my hair out, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there who don't do that. No offense, Jolanda. What?
No offense taken. I have worn an Afro in the last year, so just saying, so it's not for me. I'm just trying to understand.
You make me forget my point. I'm just trying to understand
what's the issue.
There are different ways to honor your heritage. There are different ways to honor your past. There are different ways to pay tribute to than culture appropriation.
But this is one of the ways that we choose to honor our past. So why is it an issue? There are different ways, yes. But the same how we try different
Because
things,
it's
even
a
if we
fashion
were
thing,
supposed to chant
I wouldn't
something.
really say it's a fashion
It's
thing.
like
You know,
the
I wouldn't say that
breast cancer.
either. 'Cause if it was
For
so much
me-
of a
for
fashion
me, I
thing,
must say,
it
Allow
would
me,
have been
it's
done
a-
year
allow
long.
me to compare it to the breast cancer thing. There's a lot of people who wear pink, who all October, pins and everything, but have they ever gone to take a mammogram? The company does send out all of these flyers and so wear pink on Friday, wear this, wear pink on June pan. But have they ever went to a clinic to take a mammogram? How many? It's real. And it's a fashion thing.
How
Me
you so
being
sure? How you so sure it's real though?
Because the statistics show, unfortunately I don't have the statistics.
Okay, so
but
then that's the thing.
I don't have the statistics to show you guys, but it shows that a lot of women do not
Like
go.
what percentage have you
I
come
don't
across?
know. I don't know. I
Okay.
can't. I don't want nobody to misquote me. I'm not saying that nobody does go take a
I think you should have
mammogram.
used
I'm
another
just
example.
saying when compared to the influence the Breast Cancer Awareness Month have on the society, the number of persons who take action and actually go and get something done about it is far less than those who wear.
So what do you
For
suggest?
me personally, I will just intervene. For me personally, I think that in whatever way we can still acknowledge our culture. And going back, I don't want us to stray too far from the topic. I think whatever way we could really take a moment, even if it's a month, and that level of freedom, that level of what's the word, being empowered and being able to embrace our culture is most important. So whether it's a fashion statement for some, I think just the fact that we as a people can reach that step to say, yes, this is what we identify as and stand in solidarity, I think that is most important.
I agree.
And also for me, I think personally the creativity that came with the different designs and stuff like that, I like that. And that's how we always are. I mean, I remember looking at BET a few nights ago and they were even saying that just in terms of fashion generally, we were always a fashionable people, that we always put a flair to everything. I mean, I'm a little jeans tonight, but generally, I think those things just stem from our own uniqueness and really, really make us stand out as a people.
I really love to see the as much as I was talking about it, I was just being the devil's advocate, but I really admired the fashion of it, like the little children in it. There was so like the ideas. It just goes to show how like versatile our people are as it relates to.
I was actually going to say, what do you suggest? How do you suggest we honor our ancestors? Being that you think that this is just more
if
style
it
and
is that we
fashion.
are okay with wearing the African thing, let's have it more than once a year.
Now you said there are other ways. I would like to hear those other ways.
Of what?
I mean, because obviously,
Other ways of what?
obviously, no, honoring our ancestors, because obviously, yeah, they may be
We honor it in many
ways.
ways. We honor it during carnival. We honor it. Some people that have special occasions to admire.
No, but you're saying, why do we wear the dress? You could do other things. So I'm saying, being that is an issue during the month, what else do you think we should do in that month? Being that you feel like it's just style and fashion.
I cannot give an answer right now, but there are different ways that we do honor our African heritage and where we come from as a people and how far we've gone as a people. And I think that if you're going to wear the African heritage, or if you're going to have this to be, okay, this is a way that we are going to honor our people, it should not just be once a year.
I think what Jolanda is saying is that we can't just limit it just to the clothing, but we should limit it in terms of the culture, in terms of even embracing it on a food level. Like maybe we could try
even
a dish.
Ayana,
We could try
even all of that.
No, I was telling Ayano. Yeah, so I was just trying to merge the two ideas because I think what Jolanda is saying is that maybe what we could also incorporate into our home, into our society. Even invite some friends over and say, well, let's try some African dishes, or if you have any African friends, kind of meet that culture and really get a taste and a little experience of it. I think that plays a major role. And also
And as we
kind
talk
of
about that,
being a little bit broader than...
I mean, overall, my issue isn't that we need to expand. I honestly, I really love the idea of wearing the dress. I just wanted to hear from Ayano. What else do she suggest?
Some
So that's the reason.
Examples as it relates. But I was going to say, as he said, bring out some African friends. I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to touch that that topic. But what about another way which slavery has impacted us? If we could wrap up
Yes, go ahead.
the African heritage thing is our religion.
That's a tricky topic, primarily because a lot of persons feel like we came into Christianity on the basis of slavery.
But we did.
And that topic is very, as far as it's wide, because from what the history books tell us, and I mean, I think this is general knowledge, and if I'm
No, it was
overstepping,
enforced.
please don't quote me, but I know the history book tells us that the Europeans went down to West Africa and they converted the slaves to Christianity, and then they brought them across the what's it called, the triangle, the slave trade. And by bringing them to the Caribbean, they brought them here as workers, and they worked after killing.
Please don't say the
people.
workers. They brought us here as slaves.
And on Sundays,
Where they paying us $24 an hour.
on Sundays, we were taught the religious instructions of Christianity. It was
It
enforced.
was beaten into us.
Yes, enforced/beaten. So what's so tricky about it?
No, I'm just trying to be politically correct.
And it's funny how it's even further enforced in our schools, in our school system. I went to Celia, right? And that's a Christian school, a Methodist school, and boy, it's crazy that you talk about Christianity and religion and how it's enforced, because even going to Maricilia, we see how the Bible and the teaching of the Bible and Christian ways has been like really drilled into us, to the point where we will get licks. We will get licks if you don't know a verse or a Bible verse, or because we would have a subject called scripture. And so this is where we learn about the scripture and the Bible, and you had to know Psalms, all the 10 commandments, you had to know all the Psalms, you had to know everything, you had to know. And it's I think
That's
convent too,
why,
Bevan went to convent, and Bevan was telling me about singing hymns and so on, and it's just like at a young age,
It was kind of forced.
it was forced.
And not only
it
that,
shouldn't.
you could even see it in 7 there as well, because on Fridays they don't have school. Friday afternoons
Because
from
that's-
12 p.m.
that's the Sabbath.
Yeah, so saying it has been enforced so that it's not only 1, 2, 3 schools. I mean,
If you're in a public school, it's a private school, and a private school is
What
a
I find
Christian school.
ironic though is
Not really.
Not really.
Oh, sorry. Well, what I find ironic though is that in most first world countries, you have so many other religions that it's hard to really
Enforce.
say, well, Ayano is Islam, you are Christian, I am Rastafarian, and we all have different beliefs. So you can't really say when you come into the school that mornings
We got to
have
pray.
a general devotion, because how I pray or how I was taught to pray is different. So it's all these little factors I think that really make us all unique. And I mean, Islam, for those of you who don't know, Islam is still pretty heavy in terms of Africa and African culture. So it also makes you wonder now, like, was this the original teaching versus reading the Quran versus reading the Bible? I mean, these are things that often cross my mind as an individual, and even Rastafarian. I mean, that came from Africa. That's something that we learned, and even down to now we're in the month of health.
But it's crazy that we talk about honoring the African heritage, but the African religions teaching and going back home to the motherland, like Islamic preaching and Rastafarian preaching, we don't really study it.
I mean, yeah,
So
we study
it
it
goes
because
back-
in general, the Christianity is so forced upon us, such that we actually frown upon the other religions. And it's a
Correct.
fact. If you had to say, okay, I'm from Africa or Haiti or Cuba, you know, all of that, but Haiti, I think it's
Haiti
voodoo specifically. The religion is voodoo, and you'd be like, even without them mentioning their religion, if you hear where the person is from, you'd be like, let me step far, because
But even
they
the
may believe in the
Indians-
religion. And to be honest, it's voodoo, and they practice in a lot of the places practice in Africa. So it's like that's actually a part of our religion.
culture.
I mean, ancestors' religion. So it's like, but now
It's
our
frowned upon.
culture has shifted so much due to slavery that we are now frowned upon what our ancestors' religion was.
Correct.
Even
I'm
things
saying
like the Indians and the Indian and
Believe in
Muslims
Hindu.
and or like even like the African school. What is it?
African school, I thought Africans just attend.
Sorry. Sorry. Roll it back.
Roll it back.
It slip of the tongue.
You mean Windsor?
Windsor University.
A lot
I
of them
know
attend.
that.
A lot of them attend
A
Windsor.
lot of them
Let's just clarify.
It's not an
Windsor
African school,
is
my bad.
Canadian medical school.
Crop that out.
It's just to happen that
It's
you know
just that
the
predominantly a lot of
Africans
African students
attend this school.
the University of Windsor School of Medicine.
Okay.
So
A lot of them are Muslims by religion, and I know a lot of them would wear hijabs. And we look at them and we have this mentality as if like they are bad people, but they are just like us. They are. I think I ain't really.
I mean, the media have always playing that.
The media plays
a huge role in it because, you know, they paint Muslims as terrorists.
As devoted to their religion as we are devoted to
They're
Christianity.
even more devoted to their religion than us because
Yeah.
they actually pray.
And they believe in peace. I like to just say that because
right? A lot of
I did
people
my
don't
little
even
research
realize
on.
when you're reading the Quran, you actually have to pray like 5 to 10 times a day, and you have to
Hindus
pray on time.
too, most
So it
definitely.
just shows you that they. And you know what? One thing
And
I
they have,
admire
like,
about the Muslim race is they're so bold to pray. Like they literally would put their carpet down and pray anywhere. I mean, you see them on the train stations, on a plane. They would just
Anywhere, because it's time to pray. But for us,
we still have this stigma. Like it's almost like we don't want to pray publicly, or we don't want to.
No, it's true. And then you're kind of pushed going to church to decide. And
so I may feel like it today.
I mean, what could say though? Constitutionally, the schools have to respect your religion. So even if you're a Rastafarian and you come to school and you have locks, even though boys, the healing has to be like 1 inch or less. If you're a Rasta, you're allowed to wear dreadlocks. You're allowed to practice your religion. So it's like even in schools, it's not a situation where they could enforce our Christianity upon others. So that's good.
Do you think that it's about time that we stop teaching Christianity in our school, in our school settings, because the school is so vast with so many different children from so many different backgrounds. I personally think it's time, let that be a household thing. Let the household be responsible.
It's not part of the school, any school curriculum. You attended a Catholic school.
But even in morning devotions, y'all just pray and so.
No, yeah, we pray and what's not. But let's say, for instance, even if I could say, as a homeroom teacher, if I am presented with a Rasta, a Muslim, my reaction would be, would you like to offer a prayer from your religion first? So that's why it's not a situation where we must sing Christian songs in school. When we're talking about the Catholic schools now, they must practice those kind of stuff because that's the school religion. It is a Catholic school. But in the general government schools and what's not, it's not that we enforce it on them that you have to sing this devotion. We respect you enough to have to leave.
Even if you have to compare it to schools in America, where America has so many different cultures. There are times where people would actually get sued for even mentioning the word Jesus or God or whatever, because my child is a Jehovah's Witness, or my child is a Muslim, or my child is this. You don't know. I remember when I was in high school, there was a Jehovah's Witness who was in my class, and she used to sit out of morning devotions because
was she crucified for that?
People look at her differently, but that's people did look at her differently.
You know, high school children. I mean, you know, that's society. And society is judgmental. But I'm asking you, was she crucified on a ridicule? Not even just in general.
No, why would she be?
That's what I mean. So it's like it's just
really
us changing our social perceptions.
I think one of the main challenges come that officially St. Kitts and Nevis is a Christian-based country. So it's very hard now to mingle and try to differentiate and say, oh, well, it's okay when a Muslim comes, and it's okay when this, and it's okay when that. I think, like Jolanda rightfully said, I mean, it's on the education system, the government system, the school system, all these other factors to kind of respect each other's boundaries. And, I mean, this is 2021, you know what I mean? Everybody's not going to sing the same song.
You could also make the argument that we probably might not be so vastly diverse
in terms of culture.
St. Kitts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We only have a population of 60,000. So realistically, the Muslim population is a lot small. I don't know if y'all see like now in St. Kitts we have Israelite and the other.
And then we as in Trinidad, you'll find a few mosques. We don't have any mosques here or in Nevis.
So it's kind of, I think we still have to keep it cultured and still keep our our history authentic. So
You mean, is the Christianity, you mean?
yeah, keeping it authentic.
I'm glad that we're
That's our
having this
history.
discussion because I think a lot of people are afraid to touch on topics like these because they may not want to offend anyone, but it's also important for us to bring awareness to the fact that we have to understand that our way of life now came from
Our
forefathers, post-colonialism, pre-colonialism, and
slavery,
all of that. So sometimes we might just be following something blindly.
Correct.
You know,
I also think that a lot of people have to.
I'm not saying
I
Christianity.
mean,
I'm
I just not just
saying a
real food
different
because you know
thing.
that was.
No.
I mean, I am blaming because I feel over time, even though back then it was enforced upon us, I can say all of us probably read the Bible for ourselves. We probably
understood
the readings and adhere to them. I even have a scripture tattooed, and yeah, so it's like we actually believe in some of the scripture. Well, most of them.
But do you
what
think
the
if
Bible has,
the Quran was, if the Quran was, you had access to a Quran and you identified with, I don't know if you call it scriptures or with a reading,
I mean,
you would have
access on the
identified with
internet.
that too.
A lot of the
You would have
I've actually read
identified
the
with-
Quran, and a lot of the information about the same, you know.
It's about,
They
it's
pray
about
the
peace.
same.
Exactly,
It's
Because
just
about the
I've
same.
You just believe in different
Access
things.
one as
Like
well,
they still
yeah.
talk about the whole topic of eating meat and stuff like that. The pig is unclean and stuff like that. It's
Same
the same
thing.
thing with the Rastafarian, the same thing in Islam, the same thing in Christianity, where they kind of, you know.
But
So
do
a
we
lot of the general
enforce it?
teachings are the same. But I think we're gonna move right along and talk also about the crab in a barrel mentality, and how society causes us to think that crabs in a barrel play a major role.
So I'll read something someone sent about the crabs in a bucket mentality, and you let us know in the comments if you could identify or if you have any experience with crab in a bucket mentality. So it states, crab mentality, sometimes referred to as crab in the bucket, is a way of thinking best described by the phrase, if I can't have it, neither can you. The metaphor refers to a bucket or a pot of crabs. Individually, the crabs could easily escape from the pot, but instead, they grab at each other in a useless king of the hill competition, which prevents any from escaping and ensures their collective demise. And then they further added, people say black people hold each other back like crabs in a barrel. Conveniently neglecting the crab's natural habitat is not a barrel. Who built the barrel? Jalando. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, essentially, I feel like every time we hear about the crab in the barrel conversation, it goes back to slavery and how, I think specifically on the ships when we're being brought, it's like, you want to be the one to get out of the situation of being enslaved, and as a result, you feel as though you have to betray, step on your other friends, family, peers, whoever may
So
be
wait,
the other
you're saying
enslaved.
it goes way back to being on the slave trade?
No,
On
honest,
the slave wife?
it always reference back to that. Like
On
that's
the
what
slave trade?
the slave trade. Yeah, the conversation always goes back to that. Even on the plantation, where you want
Slave
to be the, you
trade,
want.
and that's the boat.
That's what I mean. It goes here about being on the boat as well, because even on the boat, some of them who was at the bottom of the ship. So for instance, you won't able to. The last person will be able to get the meal, but because you know you're gonna get the meal last, you're gonna kill the person next to you, so you could get it. You could be the person that next in line. Yeah, it goes back to the slave ship. Then on the plantation, where you want to be the domestic slave, but you know this person's skin color is lighter than yours, so you know you have to take out that person so that you could have the upper hand. Yeah, it always references back to the slave trade, to the plantation.
I know about the plantation.
And that's where the whole idea of black people are our own worst enemies, because we did what we need to do as a means of survival, but in the process we chopped down our own.
I think it's even bigger than slavery.
And
I
definitely.
think it's a culture and a mindset and a way of life, and I think we as a people just need to change. I think that what always amazes me is how is it the Indians, the Chinese, and all these people have it together in terms of working together to open a business? The average Indian family can move from India straight to Canada. The four of them, the mother, the father, the two kids, and then they send for their brother and their family and they live there. And at the end of it, 6 of them will live in this house for 10 years period, and all of them will move out and get their own house. How is it that I can't tell Yano, I can't tell Jolando, for all of us to pool together our resources to be able to buy a house or buy this or start a business, but I could call on Yano or I could call on Jolando to go and party at whichever event. You know what I mean? And I just think it's how we are trained to think. And also, naturally, I don't even know, let me just give you all some rough statistics. Right? In America, BMW and Mercedes are owned predominantly by black people, naturally, right? And I remember there was an article that actually said that black people is the only people that when they think that they have achieved success, they actually start to identify as white. On the basis of, we never had the concept of saying, you know what, I've made it, I've made my name, so let me try to help those around me to also have that impact. It's more of, I did what I had to do, so I made it, and everybody should make it. But that's not the way. The way is a community. The same thing goes back to our basic teachings from home. I mean, our teachings used to be back then where it takes a community, a village to raise a child, but now it's nobody can hit the child, nobody can this, nobody can that. You get involved in my affairs. But it goes all around because realistically back then they realized and they understood the concept that even though Ayana might be my mother, Ayana might not be around me all the time, but that person who might see me could be able to guide and mold me the same way where Ayana drops off her child to Jolanda at school. You know what I mean? It also plays a role in terms of the holistic education, the holistic growth of that individual. I think that's where the mindset of black people just have to change to kind of get us back on track.
But it's so funny that you say it's bigger than slavery, but ultimately, as the entire conversation is about how did we adapt these type of behaviors, and that's how the whole conversation that I had with it was adapted from slavery, the survival of the fittest mode. It's like they feel like they always had to. They actually pitted us against each other, even as far as Africa. When you was on you had the different tribes, and because you don't want your tribe to be the one that's going to be captured, you actually work with the white man. And you set up traps, use your men to set up traps so that the white man can go with that other tribe. So it goes way back to always having them pit us against each other. Right?
I think, when do you think that we will recognize that at some point we have to work together and not against each other? Because I think that the system is designed to keep us at it, you know.
Definitely.
The system, the societal system is naturally designed to have us competing against one another. And it's crazy to think, so many things are crazy to think about. Because the Indians, they come to St. Kitts, they open up a one shop.
All 10 of them live in the same house.
All 10 of them live in the same house.
All they do is they go home. And
in less than a year, they don't have another outlet on the same street. But we as St. Kitts people, we like, oh no, a shop done there already, can't go there. So me want to go there. And then it's to go
not only that, I think the whole conversation is because, well, it's Susie and me want to step on Susie toe, Susie gonna think I go there. Like, that's a lot of the mentality that we have going on too. But as I said, the Indian, I should say, well, let me join up and create another electronic shop. Let me pool and create another electronic shop here. But us now, it's a situation where, the response you get from somebody is like, oh, she wanted bread up my mouth.
You guys ever realize on 4th Street? I was driving up 4th Street. Last night, I was driving up 4th Street. And most of the stores are not owned by local people. I think I could only pinpoint 1, 2, maybe 3.
Locally owned businesses.
Locally owned businesses.
It's more than 3.
It's more than 3. Think about, it's more than 3, but I could only wait. It's maybe like 5. But if it is that there are 10,
that's a lot. 10 would be a high number, realistically.
If it is that there are 20 shops on 4th Street, maybe only like 7 of them is black people.
Or locally owned.
Locally owned.
That's true.
Think about it, Jalando. Think about it, guys.
I'm thinking about the ones that owned by.
I mean, talking about upstairs
people.
either. Sorry, I mean talking about upstairs. I'm just talking on the street on 4th Street.
I'm thinking about the one that owned by foreign people.
Because
And there's polo companies. But
Domino's is owned by the lawyer guy Johnson.
OJ building is still.
OJ.
I think probably the one that actually says OJ Complex. The kind of.
That was Omax building. That's
Yeah,
his building, but
It's OJ.
Omax Gardner's building,
Omax
and
Gardner's
I
building.
think it's still in the family, so that's
still-
still black
Which one is
owned.
OJ?
no, Omax is what she meant.
Omax is what I meant.
But which
sorry.
building it is?
On the left, going up 4th Street.
It
there's
has a
after you
pink
come
and
around,
white sign.
Opposite Polo Company, right there after you pass Central Street, which is aka Party Central.
Okay, let's list them. That's one.
So it's a
One by
Domino's. We
TDC.
say
The whole area by TDC.
we forget the woman who
all
got the
that belongs
clothing
to
store.
TDC.
The woman who got the clothing.
All
Winniel?
that belongs to TDC.
But think about the outlets.
who-
The outlets, I mean, not Winniel.
But I mean, the
only thing
area.
locally
down
owned
to the
is
bottom of the
Jamaican
circles.
Patty restaurant place. The
That's
guy,
locally owned.
Yeah, she's from
Jamaican
here,
patty. Okay.
no? The guy downstairs under Omar's uncle, Sensia Fado.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, and then beneath Omax Garden,
So
he
let's
had
go-
the lady, he had the.
Farm Care.
Let's
Farm
talk
Care is locally
local.
owned.
But
And then beneath-
she's from St. Kitts.
Yeah, and then
She's
beneath.
from St. Kitts. I've heard the accent.
Yeah, but
Beneath.
they're Kittitian.
And then beneath the
Let's talk
Omax
ab-
building, it got the Lavins basket thing. I can't remember the name of
Yeah.
it. But
But
occasion.
occasion.
That's
But
that's locally owned. Beneath it
Digicel
has
is
the
not-
clothes store. That's locally owned. Right above it has the jewelry store.
Oh, the
locally owned.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, we done pass the number.
It's true.
Let me go. Maybe we could go on Port Zante.
No, man.
Then we could go on
Port
Port Zante, but
Zante
in
to,
the heart of town, out of local individuals own the businesses. But on Port Zante, that's another ball game.
I think it's too much. I think it's too much foreigners. Even the one on the corner, Polo Company, the other one on the other side. You got some more. The Chinese. Now the building with our BT used to be the building something else in there. Lucky's
BT, that's the
Chukchidia.
building we meant. The one where BT was.
Lucky's Chukchidia. Cindy on that side. Come down some more.
No, but Lucky is being chucked there. I think some is an individual on the entire
I'm talking
kind of
about,
thing.
I'm talking about the outlets, the
That's what I
businesses.
mean.
The business. And so I just
Inside,
think
you got
that's just
Westec
too
on the
much.
inside.
Oh, you forget about Polar Company, who do on the thing
Westec
too.
is locally owned. Up, locally
Westec
owned.
is
We ain't talking
from
about going
St.
to
Lucia.
the...
It's actually a St. Lucian company. So it's not local.
Well, we're talking about crabs in a bucket.
I think we're straight up there, so we're just trying to get back on.
The crabs in a bucket mentality. But yeah, I think that at what point, I was asking the question, at what point do you think that we, as locals, will realize that we have to now pool our resources together? Because obviously, work individually in working out for us.
I think people have to understand. I think eventually that the society over the generations will get it together. I think
But if we
right
don't
now,
teach them
we
that,
are in
if we
what
don't
call-
teach
I
them
know. I don't want to say
entrepreneurship,
I'm trying to listen. Go ahead, Lester.
I think right now we're in the information era where everybody has access to a smartphone, everybody has access to a cell phone, internet, everybody has a smart device or devices at home where you could actually Google stuff and check your history and verify information rather than just assuming. So I think in that aspect, I think we are slowly changing and actually being more further ahead. I think last year in particular, in 2020 with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, I think how it was dealt with the George Floyd and the various states and that came together and actually stood for the rights of human rights and the activism and stuff like that. All that played a role in terms of, you know, the generation kind of uniting rather than being so divided. I mean, these are different examples, but I just think generally we're gonna get it, but I just think we might be the last ones.
I
to
guess
get
we
it.
got to narrow it back down to the Caribbean because in terms of US and the George Floyd movement, you know, that whole thing was based on Black Lives Matter.
Correct.
But in terms of us building as entrepreneurs within the country and not bad minding or being jealous or grudging of each other, in terms of us building that, I guess you have some seminars that we could try to advocate for how if you join better together.
no, but I was gonna say, it's important for us to realize that as much as we think that we have made it so far, we literally just made it. in terms of emancipation and independence. We just got independence in the 80s, and this is only you're only one generation below that, literally. So it is now our responsibility to teach the next generation what needs to be, for them to teach the next generation, for them to teach the next generation, this basic ideology, because the generation before us, our peer ones and whatever, a lot of them didn't have access to the resources for them to now teach their children
and be
about exactly
not
about
only teach but set an example.
Set
we
an
are in a
example.
position whereas we could set examples because experience
about
is the best
pooling
teacher.
resources and about
Because guess what, if you just talk about it, if you just talk about it, it's only so far the talk could go. But if you set the example and say, listen here, this occurred, I mean, we us ourselves need to get ahead. So why can't it just start with us being the ones?
But we are. I think all of us could say that we know a friend who is the first in their family to graduate from university. Because our peer ones, exactly, because our peer ones or their peer ones did not have that opportunity. We are the first, like our generation.
Again, we're going back. Is the conversation not about how we're gonna pool resources to get ahead?
Yeah,
as
but we are. I am
community?
saying that we are the first generation. So it is them who didn't have the resources, as you said, to know. So this happened to me. I want you to know. I want to teach you now. But that's not happening. We just seen a lot of peer ones fighting down their family. I've seen that so many times. I've seen people, peer ones, not wanting the best for their child, because I don't know for what reason, but I know a number of people who can say that, like, yeah, my parents are fight downs. Why?
I think it goes back to the question of,
Is it that they're just not educated enough to understand what you are doing, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to
honestly, as I say, well, I think it goes back to you, the parents, being educated on, for my child to achieve this or attain this, or for us to be better in our lives. This can be one of the stepping stones. It's a situation where they were never afforded the opportunity, and so they feel as though you don't need it, you could get by too. I think some of the times it's that. It's like them thinking, listen here, I send in your high school. You got the 5 years when you're going to look at work to come help me. So they're not really thinking of the long term, of when you come up with a bachelor's degree or a master's degree that you might make up to $6,000. They're thinking about that. They're thinking about the fact that, listen here, I've been slaving my back, working 3 jobs for you since you're born. Finish them 10 years of school and come help your mother, even if it's minimum wage. So they're thinking about the short-term goal of it. And that's where the issue is really with the parents. I don't think that they don't want the child to succeed. I think it's just that
they lack support.
They lack the support, and they want the help now, the financial support from their children now. Because some students actually drop out of school to help their parents, you know. Some of them actually drop out of school. So that's how you know that for some parents, it's really just that they need the financial support from their children. And so they don't think that education is that important because they didn't have it.
Do you think that contributes to the crab in the bucket mentality?
I feel like the crab in the bucket mentality is a different conversation. It's about
fighting. I think that
you
could connect it, because it's like that's just the mentality of that specific generation.
But I wasn't
And
saying
so
that they don't want you to get ahead. You know, the crab in the barrel mentality is that I want to be the first one to get ahead. So I mean, you got the peer ones judging you like that.
Societal mentality of the crab in the bucket, where the previous generation have this mentality of just do what you need to do to pass by. So our generation now is more like, I just need to do what I got to do to get by, and not necessarily like I need to take time, talk about investment, talk about money management, talk about different things with a group of friends, because it's more like competition. You see, for the crab in the barrel mentality is more of stepping on others to get ahead. So that's what I'm saying, when it comes to the parents, I can't relate it to the idea. When it comes to you associating with friends, then we could go back to the crab in the barrel mentality. May I want to tell my friend about this business idea I have, because may I want him to fit, even though you know I got $1,000, my friend got $1,000, $2,000, we could bring in a good amount of products and we could make a good capital from it. That's where the crab in the barrel mentality come from. Let me just do it on my own being and tell her. Let me be quiet about it.
let's just say, yeah, maybe I could tell her, go invest in something that, you know, that ain't gonna be as lucrative as the business that I have in mind. That's where you see the crab in the barrel mentality. And you know ways that you could assist your friend in them boosting their business, but you choose not to say because you want to be the one that's the billionaire before the friend. That's where the crab in the barrel mentality comes from again.
I think the discussion was really, really fluid, and I think I just like the general energy of the feedback. You know, you have any?
I just want us to, and I'm speaking to our viewers, which is going to be our particular age demographic, to really, really invest our time and money into thinking of ways in which we can better assist and better help our brother or our sister or our friend, our neighbor. Different ways in which we can all work together to get by. You don't have to do it alone. This I could do it by myself, one man show type of thing. It's not really going to get you much far unless you have a brother to lean on, even mentally. Even mentally, some people have businesses, small businesses, and it's driving them crazy. And they can't talk about it with somebody because it's just like a fight down over that way you're signing up for.
But not only even that, you don't want the person to see your idea. So you yourself
can't even express it. And
it's
I think that we need
the whole ideology and the whole, I just said the whole mental and how we think is what really needs to change.
Correct.
Like, so people that's really
if this is your friend, this is your friend. If you believe that your friend is like, if you honestly feel as though you can't share a business idea with your friend and you guys work on it together, is that really your friend? And you should ask yourself that question. I have friends that we've had business talks with, and never a fight down. It's like, okay, send me the page right away. When you're gonna start? So you need to cultivate your circle.
But also to wrap up the idea, I think people need to also be able to receive constructive criticism
without
taking
it
not take it personal, and be able to have that discussion, that tough discussion about where they see something going. Like for example, I always use a simple example where if I go and start barbecue chicken, don't come and the other side they want to start barbecue chicken. Start with some corn, start with some garlic bread to complement, and ultimately we could pool our resources, right? But I think we kind of at the end of our show this evening.
No, we have one more.
Sorry.
Hold on. Well, unfortunately, Sakyan is not here, and Sakyan would have been the perfect person to speak about this because he's the youngest of us all. But we spoke about how slavery has impacted us in Kittitian and Nevisian, but we want to also touch on what impact are we leaving for the future generation? How our culture as it is now, as you see it now, as you see it going and developing, what you see now happening, how is that going to now impact the ones who are in preschool, the ones who are in their mommy's tummies? What kind of world, what kind of thinkers do you think we are leaving for these children? I can go first. We can talk about how preferences has changed and how I'm pretty sure your parents used to say, when I was young, X, Y, and Z. And we look at us now and just like, yeah, but we got technology. We got cars. We have better access to these resources. And so they would call us lazy. But we ain't lazy. Things are easier. So now technology has developed so vastly. This future generation, do you think we are going to be the ones to call them lazy, or have you already seen it? That they're just on the phone, on the tablet, on the computer, behind the video game, and just just eyes glued to the technology.
For me personally, coming from a technological background, I think that the society that we live in today will only continue to be motivated and pushed by technology. As you see right now, even to board a plane, you know what I mean? Simple stuff
things.
It's just so
technology.
Much further
traffic lights.
I mean, right now down here, we just getting our traffic lights. In most first world countries as well, you have this selfless checkout from when you go into a grocery store, which avoids a whole contactless system.
cashiers.
You also have the
robots
system
taking
where
over
when you drive
your
on
job.
the, you know what I mean? It's so many different things going on that's really going to
But
change.
do you think that, because there's a difference, you know, there's good technology and there's bad technology in terms of, you can be using technology, yes, but you could only be using it for the things that are going to distract you from the real deal, such as a lot of people don't know about different websites on the internet that you could just go and read, they just go on social media. You understand? So you don't get to learn about how deep the internet is, because you are just faced with Facebook or Twitter or Reddit or this. And so you don't really get to see me buy in Dubai they got self-charging benches. I should when I go up I want to be like that.
But it comes up.
I feel as though the gap between how much it can change will draw back to how much we educate the future generation.
I agree.
As far as the kids now, yes, they're very technologically advanced. And I was saying a lot of them don't know the websites and what's not, like Google, that provide a lot of essential information. But why aren't we teaching them those essential websites that they could gain good information from? Why? Because a lot of the parents them can't be bothered, and that's just a fact. So I feel like to bridge the gap, well, it will advance, but to more bridge the gap, we need to focus on passing down some of our traditions, our values, our morals to the future generation in order to kind of hold on to some of the past and present. So as far as Black History Month, Black History Month, if it was supposed to be totally watered down, honestly, it would be us. It would be us saying, listen here, yeah, you're putting on your cute little dress, you need to put on an African wear to go to school today. That's on the parents, right? Or even in the schools, if you're going to say, this is Black History Month, oh, you could just wear your mufti. That's on the school. Or even as far as the government not recognizing it. So it's based on the government, the schools, the society, the different societal bodies, to make sure that we try and hold on to these traditions and what's not, if we really want to try and bridge the gap between our culture being watered down.
Even we spoke about carnival and how the fact that if these older people die who has been pioneering the folklore for our carnival, if they die and a lot of young people not interested in taking it up, they would rather go into costume making with feathers and jewels and things than to say, okay, I'm going to make a masquerade costume or a clown costume or a bull costume. Like, I remember one year, maybe they had maybe they had 5 bulls from 5 different parts of St. Kitts. But now you're only seeing 1 bull. And it's like, this is basically culture erasure.
I feel like I just see 2 bulls.
Maybe 2.
But
I remember one Christmas I only saw 1.
Honestly, what I could say is that back then, you know, you might have only seen males in the masquerade. I see a few females.
Children. So I love to see when they bring the little children in.
I'm happy that it's not totally watered down. I like in the Christmas, particularly by my house, it has a masquerade group that goes around to different communities in general. But I could say because one always lands by my house. Some since I've been born have never failed. I can expect them on Christmas Eve. Yes, on Christmas Eve I can expect them every Christmas Eve. So I'm happy that it's not totally watered down. It's just, as I said, up to us to keep it going, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if the gentleman in charge of the particular masquerade groups has they, probably not. But some of the children are so enthusiastic about it. Like I remember, like in one of the students I particularly teach, he'd be like, teacher, are you in the folklore? Wait till you see me flip. And he was one of them flipping. And I was so proud because, like, yeah, like, he spoke about it with so much joy in his eyes. So it's like, it's up to us to really try to hold on to the traditions of our society.
What about our, I'm just going to throw this out there again, what about our infrastructural development in terms of, for example, we can use our schools, our people who used to go washi, how many years ago? About 10 years ago. We don't pass through washi still look the same. These upcoming generation washi still look the same. Same mashup there, same mashup chair. Same everything. I don't know how it is with all the school, but at what point are we going to say, yo, we need to kind of modernize certain public
The real thing
Public
is that
things
a lot of the funds.
We need to modernize. When are we going to start to modernize?
Honestly, it's not even just modernization. A lot of the funds need to be reallocated to the schools. Period. So that's one of the big deals. To be honest. Maybe it's just not enough funds being allocated during the budget, and that's why a lot of the infrastructure has not improved at WashU.
Allow me to retract a little piece of what I said. When I did go to WashU, we did get some new chairs and desks. I remember they were blue. I don't know if they're still there. They were blue, and the desks them were black. Yeah, we did get some new desks.
mean, some things are replaced, but in general, these schools could do a lot better when it comes to the funding.
You have to remember also that most of these government-led organizations, they really don't generate any income. Such
but as
the
Jolanda
hospital,
said,
most of the offices and stuff like that. So it's basically a lot of expense and really no return. And they still have the programs in place such as
Self,
and you also have those where they pay for your exams,
school
meals. All these are quote unquote non-profit organizations.
But
so
when they're going to bail the $1.5 billion school and got Bastille High School up there, the old Bastille High School dilapidating, and they got the children them chung. It's like my aunt was telling me that y'all Bastille High School, the new Bastille High School that they've built, a whole class then went through from first farm to fifth farm, and so their high school experience is up there. You think that's nice? Their high school experience is chunk up next to Beach Alley.
Anyway,
in that
back to what Lester was saying.
And,
I would like to add that, yes, it is a non-profit organization, but do you value your schools? Do you value
education?
The education that the youths are given?
We do.
Okay. So then, allocating a sufficient amount of funds to the institution should...
How long the school
I don't even want to go into depth about it, but it's more than infrastructure when it comes to the school. The schools really do.
The fact that there's no St. Kitts history really taught in the schools as well.
Oh, Jolanda, okay, I'll tell you. Go ahead, Jolanda, finish your point.
But yeah, we were just interrupted by the producer. but as I was saying, I don't really want to get into details, but the schools are really given the end of the stick.
And it's like this is the upcoming generation.
And so it's like, yeah, you could just watch on the outside and say, well, this school is generating the money, but some of this, the minimum stuff that could be provided in abundance. Anyway.
It's like you have to understand that you want to build this new school that is going to take how many years again to build? That's another whole class that make it from first farm to fifth farm with that being their high school experience. And I don't think it's a good look. It's not a good look. And I think that we definitely need to start to reconsider our school and our education and start investing more into the modernizing, because this generation or these people who are in high school are going to be the ones responsible for helping develop our country. And it's like if we don't invest in them now, we don't know what the outcome is going to be when they leave school. They might not even value school because the government ain't value them. You understand?
To be honest, and it's not even only... Anyway,
they might not want to invest in themselves. They might not want to do anything because...
It's too close to home. Go ahead.
Our producer wants us to touch on the fact that history being taught in our classrooms. Jolanda, as a teacher of Bastille High School and as a teacher of social studies...
As a student who went through history class, no, I'll just...
How much of our St. Kitts history was really taught in school? If St. Kitts history was taught as a percentage, how much percent would it be?
We can't really draw reference from social studies, because social studies is, when we reference St. Kitts, we could go to history. Because in social studies, we talk about the national heroes. In general, we cover St. Kitts, and when we touch regional countries, we always narrow back down to St. Kitts. So I can't really, the conversation is not social studies. Let us all use I don't teach history, so now we'll all have to use our personal experiences and talk from when we were in history class.
So for me personally, I think that history generally in the Caribbean, especially in my experience going to high school, was quite unique because it actually focused on black history and it actually focused a lot on the key highlights as it related to local, regional, international history, but having the focus primarily based on black history. I think in the US and Canada and other first world countries, a lot of it is more British based, where you learn a different history about what happened in their world, but not as much focus on black history. And I think it's really unique to go up in the Caribbean and really get that sense of passion and really understand what happened and what transpired. And like they would always talk about like the Buckley's riot and the different things in St. Kitts history and when we became independent, and they always started from that angle, I think, which is really, really unique and inspiring.
I mean, I could say the issue with the history being taught is that a lot of the remedial classes are not given the opportunity to do history. No, that's an issue. So it's like, I think the producer is really talking about St. Kitts in particular, but as far as his story being told in the schools, it's said that if you're in a remedial class, you might not have the opportunity to learn his story, which is ultimately our Caribbean story. But when it comes to St. Kitts history being taught, I guess I could understand what Bevan is trying to say in a sense that we more generalized discussions.
I think Bevan needs to come and say what he's trying to say.
We more generalized discussions in school that you get a lot of Jamaica, you get a lot of Guyana, you get a lot of Trinidad. But then when it comes to St. Kitts, you might pitch out the Buckley's riot. At one point in time, we were leading when it comes to the sugar production.
I think
we were like known for that. Next one, I guess
yeah,
the points are there, but versus other countries, they're somewhat limited.
Yeah, I think that the reason behind that is because they teach history for sexy, not history for St. Kitts sexy. So they would have to teach on what is coming on the sexy paper. This is the syllabus, this is what we're going to talk about, and a lot of it is really centered around the Greater Antilles, the larger Caribbean territories, these that really had a blooming...
Cuba.
A blooming... They just have more mass land and more history to talk about, more incidents to talk about. So when you compare that to St. Kitts history, saying putting about the Buckley's riot and nothing. And
I don't even think that we have. I don't even think that we have. It's because we have less instances.
It's not that we have less. I'm just saying that the curriculum is centered around these larger.
I understand, but I think what happened is the whole superiority complex. You prefer to focus on those countries because the population is bigger, they're more known internationally,
right.
And at the end of it, as a result, the Leeward Islands are now left in the shadows.
I beg to differ to both of y'all, and I beg to differ on the basis that you have to realize that there's a world outside of St. Kitts, and we can't limit our history to St. Kitts and our 5 major events that might have happened here. I think understanding history.
But no, it's
no,
different.
Let me finish your point. Let me finish your point. You can't.
Realistically, even with general stuff, I mean, I'm in health, right? And what we've done when we started the Caribbean bubble is we looked at how it affects the region. We did a Caribbean bubble and we said, okay, realistically, this is what it was. And then you see what other countries are doing, and then you kind of tweak your situation accordingly. So we can't sit here and limit and focus on saying it's we're not only factoring in the other islands.
No, that's not what.
No, but the conversation.
So I said that to say this. I said you can't sit down and just learn about saying with history and make it the focal point. We have to say be broad and round to understand and compare, so you could make a reasonable judgment about something.
I think it's important.
I understand your point in terms of not solely focusing on St. Kitts, but the point is that the focus is barely placed on St. Kitts. And it's funny that you say we cannot just sit down here and speak about St. Kitts only, but in reference to Jamaica and those larger countries, what do you think they learn in their history class? Because I could tell you they don't learn about St. Kitts. Because when I encounter them in school, oh, we are St. Kitts, is it a part of Jamaica?
All are you related?
Okay, yeah.
All your countries
no,
are small.
To be honest, and it's like, St. Kitts, St. Lucia,
so
Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, they are taught about their country and their country only. If they're taught about somebody else, it's Trinidad and Guyana and Cuba, because those are the other bigger islands.
I attest to that,
so if they're being the whole conversation of us not being selfish, They are clearly selfish.
Let's go
So
back to the question though. The question was that if at CSEC level, no, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, if at CSEC level, we're still doing the same CSEC regional exam that still tries to be broad and rounded. So that's why I'm saying that you.
I think that there should be a balance. I think that at the end of the day, there should be a balance because as Jolanda said, I do international relations and I sit down in a university and their international perspective is Jamaica. They don't want to talk about nobody else. Oh, in Jamaica. Oh, Norman Manley. Oh,
what?
I know
When
more
you try
about
to
Jamaica
educate-
than I know about the whole Caribbean. I think that, and they know more about Jamaica than they know about anything. And I think it is important and crucial for us to instill that, not the same mentality, but sliding on the same mentality in St. Kitts, where we teach our children and we teach the people who are in our high schools and whatever about St. Kitts history, about the small. It could be the smallest thing about
But
that.
But
guess-
Ayana,
no,
what
but
I'm
guess
hearing
what?
from you-
Guess what?
What I'm hearing from you, Ayana, is that they're still limited. Because if you're going to tell me you're in Jamaica, which has a population of 23 million or whatever population, and all you know about is Jamaica, you're limited. That's what I'm saying.
They
You're
are
still
limited,
because
but
you still need to
at
be
this-
rounded. And
but
that's
at
why
the
I'm
same
saying-
time, like I said, I'm not saying that we should be on the same level, but we should also take that what do you call that pride, that national pride in St. Kitts and teach our children about St. Kitts history and not just about the Greater Antilles.
But guess what?
Agreed.
If we want to go back to CSEC, in Moravian, you learned about the Bible, etc., the different things they taught you. Yeah, we could be realistic that CSEC will not bring an entire page on St. Kitts, but that doesn't mean that we need to
We
neglect
can't
it.
teach
This is
them.
us teaching our children about our story. So even if we have to start with St. Kitts, go into depth, educate, let them learn who we are,
There are so many
and then you
books
branch
in
into
St.
the other
Kitts.
Caribbean islands because your night will be essential in the exam. Then that's a different conversation. We branch into them after the fact, but don't ever minimalize because as made very clear, the other countries, especially the bigger ones, not at
Focus
all.
primarily on
They
it.
don't ever minimalize, and that's exactly, I feel like it contributes a lot to their pride. So
So maybe what
how
they could
about
do-
we use that to try to build our country's pride as well?
So maybe what a suggestion could be then, that when it comes to history exam, let the Ministry of Education, for whichever specific country, focus on their history and focus that exam based on that and set up a curriculum based on promoting their history so that they can, in result, promote it on an international level.
I agree, but also I think that we should also implement it as you talk about exams, because they get exams in December 20th, so you could quiz them, you could talk
I'm
about
saying it doesn't necessarily have to. Well, I like your point as well. But I'm saying I don't mind one bit the generalizing the different Caribbean islands, regional, making it more regional. I'm just saying within our hometown, let us play our part. Even if it's not a situation that they're going to be tested for CSEC, well, at least we know you're going to be tested semester 1, semester 2. The other semester, that's when you're going to the whole Caribbean
CSEC
aspect
thing.
of it. And the whole CSEC learning aspect of it. So it's more of, yeah, you could enforce it in the syllabus and the curriculum, but then it still doesn't neglect the fact that we have to do our part on our own. We don't have to just rely on it being on a regional level.
Yeah, there's a number of books about St. Kitts and Nevis and about the people and the people who played an essential part in development and how far we've come as a people. There's so many things that you learn about St. Kitts. Like, I don't know, Bevan could give more examples, but
He's
none coming. He's playing shy, but none coming to my head. There's so many things, and I'm pretty sure that you never learn about these things in school. You don't learn about them in school. You learn more about Jamaica. You learn more about Trinidad. You learn more about Barbados, and it's sad. It's really sad. Anything else, guys? I think we had an awesome.
But before we end this show,
oh yeah,
we have to make mention of our national heroes in St. Kitts.
Follow us as well.
So we have Simeon Daniel, Joseph Nathaniel Franz,
Right.
Dr. Kennedy Simmons.
Robert
Llewellyn
Bratcher,
Bratcher, Paul Southwell.
Joseph Nathaniel.
I feel like doing a good job.
Dr. Cuthbert Montevideo.
You said say Pat Southwell?
Yeah.
Cuthbert Sebastian, Denzel Douglas, who has been our Prime Minister for 20 years. So you could imagine, 20 years. We have to pick up Denzel Douglas.
Yeah, I'm caught up, yeah.
And even the unsung heroes who play a small role in like little things, all like the man who does play the saxophone downtown, that does give you a whole vibes in early in the morning.
But not only
And I
that,
think
unsung heroes, like, I remember.
Oh, we forgot about Kim Collins.
Yeah, but then, speaking about unsung heroes,
Atiba Harris.
Lux Carnival actually posted some prominent figures in the carnival industry and had Banco, which is true because every carnival, without missing, he actually promotes our culture with in the costume.
Most
so it's
definitely.
not just the
Most definitely.
the representing of the sun, so we have an orange bathing suit, but he actually lets us go around with this trolley, this if it's the peta, it's the bamboo stick. Yeah. So he's one
who always depict our true
culture in the costume.
Most definitely. And I mean, there's a number of people, and we could name them all afternoon, all night. We could name them, but it's just too much to mention. Nonetheless, we are very, very grateful, this generation in particular, very grateful for all of the hard work and all of the voices and everything that just worked together so flawlessly to get us where we are today. And we just really want to recognize that.
We also want to thank our sponsors.
And so that wraps it up. We would like to let everyone know to follow us on theshow.kn on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I mean, normally this show is 1 hour long, but if you visit our pages regularly, we have little short clippets of highlights of the night, interesting highlights that you guys could always follow us and see more.
But also, on the note of Black History Month, I would like to note that every February, Black History Month is not just to wear the African clothing, as Ayana said, but it's a moment.
So that's what it is.
Okay, sorry. But it's a moment for us to honor our ancestors. So when you dress up in the prints and what's not, with great pride. Remember, we came from. We have a long background.
We came from being slaves, literally.
Okay, slaves. But yeah, so it's a moment for us to honor who we are, honor the skin of the color of our skin, brown, melanin, dark melanin, chocolate melanin, and our hair, our natural roots.
Everything about us.
Everything about us. So as I understand, I gave the pages for this on this show.
Yes.
Okay.
So before we leave, again, one more thing. We really want to thank everyone who's working behind the scenes, Bevin, Ansel, Javaldo, Neo, our peer ones, for being so supportive in all of this endeavor. See you guys next week, Sunday.